Tonight, for true tales told softly over steady rain. A locked basement that should stay sealed, an empty cabin with something still inside, empty pumps on a road that shouldn't exist, and a hunter's gift you were never meant to accept. Get comfortable, and let the rain carry the story. I didn't plan on staying in that house for more than a few days. It was supposed to be simple, clean out my late aunt's place in the hills so it could be sold. I barely remembered her. She'd lived alone, far from town, surrounded by trees and a bad road no one wanted to drive at night. The lawyer mailed me the keys with a short note. Clear the house for sale. Basement key is in the kitchen. Do not use it. Of course I went looking for it. The key was in a drawer, a small scarred brass key hanging from a plastic tag that read "Not in use." The basement door was at the bottom of a narrow staircase, a heavy oak slab with 3 separate locks, 1 standard deadbolt and 2 padlocks on a chain that looked like they'd been added later. The key fit the deadbolt easily. The padlocks on the chain were actually latched, but loose, like someone opened and closed them regularly. I went down only a few steps that first time. The air was immediately colder, damp with the smell of earth and old stone. My flashlight beam cut through dust motes and landed on metal. Cages. 4 of them, bolted to the dirt floor, 2 on each side of a short central aisle. About the size of small closets, bars thick and rusting, each with a heavy latch. They were empty. No chains. No bedding. No obvious purpose that fit comfortably in my mind. Still, underneath the damp, there was another smell. Metallic and sour, layered deep. Not fresh. Not animal. Human. I went back upstairs, locked the basement door, and told myself it was just old farm stuff. Pig pens, maybe. This used to be livestock country. That night, around 2, I heard knocking. Not from outside. From below. Soft, measured taps. Knuckle on metal. 3 in a row. Pause. 3 more. I got up, heart already beating faster, and went out into the hallway. The sound was clear now, coming directly from behind the basement door. I grabbed my flashlight and the key. My hand shook as I turned it in the lock. I kept the padlocks on the chain. The deadbolt clicked. The door complained on its hinges as I opened it a few inches. The knocks continued, louder through the opening stairwell. I went down. The cages emerged from the dark one by one as my light swept across them. Empty, empty, empty. The knocking stopped. Hello? I called. My voice sounded wrong in the cramped space. Silence. I scanned each cage. Rust, cobwebs, nothing else. Then, from the farthest one, a whisper. Let me out. The hairs on my arms lifted. Who's there? My voice went thin. Silence. Then again, the same hoarse whisper, let me out. The voice was female. Older. Worn out. I have food, I said, because panic makes you say stupid things. Water. But you need to tell me who you are and how you got in. A bare pause. Then, years I've been here. My stomach dropped. I tried the cage door. The latch was held by a newer-looking padlock. The basement key didn't fit. Hold on, I said. I'll get tools. I'll be right back. Upstairs I grabbed a hammer, bolt cutters, anything that looked like it might break steel. I hadn't truly thought through what I'd do if I did find someone, years deep in a basement cage. I just moved. When I went back down, the whispering was gone. The cage was still locked. And on the dirt in front of the bars, there were fresh scratch marks, 5 parallel grooves leading from the inside of the cage straight into the packed earth below it, as if something had dug its fingernails in and been pulled through the floor. I stared until my light shook. Then I left, fast. The next afternoon, I called the local police. I told them I'd found cages in the basement, that I'd heard something, that someone might have been kept there. 2 officers showed up in a dusty sedan. They were polite. They took a look. "Old livestock pens," one said. "These places used to lock up dogs, goats, whatever." "You didn't smell that?" I asked, desperate. He shrugged. "Basements stink." I asked if anyone had ever reported missing people around here. He said something vague about hikers and drifters and told me if I heard something again, to call back. That night, I didn't plan on sleeping. Around 11, a scream hit the house. Full-throated, cut short, like someone had tried to shout with a hand over their mouth and something sharp in their side. I ran to the basement door. The scream had come from there. No mistake. The chain on the padlocks was swinging. The lower padlock was halfway sheared, fresh metal bright against the rust. I unlocked the deadbolt and went down. The far cage, the one I'd heard the whisper from, was open. The bent padlock dangled useless from the latch, metal twisted like someone had hit it with a sledgehammer over and over. On the dirt just inside the doorway, there was blood. Not much, but bright and recent. A dark trail of it led away from the cage into the shadow beneath the shelves, where the earth sloped down. There was a crawlspace under there. Narrow, low, just big enough for someone desperate or determined. I took a breath that hurt my ribs and slid under. The crawlspace turned into a tunnel, a rough, hand-dug shaft barely tall enough to crouch in, walls reinforced with scavenged wood. The smell of earth and something older was stronger here. 10 yards in, my flashlight caught something pale. A body. She was on her side, twisted, half in mud. Middle-aged, maybe older. Skin gray-green from time, but the shape of her still intact enough to recognize horror. Hands bound at the wrists with wire. Flesh missing in strips from her arms and thighs, cut away with a careful, practiced hand. The rag stuffed deep into her mouth was soaked dark. Her eyes were stuck open, white-filmed, staring at me like I'd shown up 30 years late. Around her neck hung a thin chain with a small cross. I recognized it. I'd seen it in a photo earlier that day. My aunt, younger, on the front porch, wearing that same cross. This wasn't a stranger. It was my aunt. My scream bounced back at me from the packed earth. I scrambled backward out of the tunnel, hands tearing on roots. In the basement, breathing hard, I wiped mud and blood off my palms onto my jeans. The house felt different now, less like a building, more like a mouth. Upstairs, I grabbed my phone. No service. The satellite communicator in my bag was dead too. I'd forgotten to charge it. The landline in the kitchen sat useless. When I picked it up, there was nothing on the line but a faint hum. I dug through the house until I found a pistol in a locked metal box in the bedroom closet. Old Smith & Wesson, 6 rounds left in the cylinder, oil smell still faint. It probably hadn't been fired in years. I slept that night in a chair facing the basement door, gun in my lap, every light on. Around 3, something scratched at the door from the inside. Softly. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Like knuckles that didn't belong to bone anymore. I didn't go down. In the morning, I found the journal. It was in the attic, in a trunk under old quilts, spiral-bound, filled in a tight, controlled hand. The early entries were mundane: weather, chores, recipes. Then they shifted. March 3rd, he came back. Says I promised. Says I owe the flock. March 18th, he says they're not animals. Says they're strays. I don't understand. I can't sleep. April 2nd, first one in the cage. He says it's mercy. Says no one misses them. The handwriting shook around the edges after that. June 9th, I can hear them scratching. I can't go down there. I locked him in. But he says I let him out first. Says it's my fault. The last entry was just a scribble, she'll come back. Our girl. I told him no. He said she promised. He said she'd be the shepherd. I shut the notebook slowly. I didn't have siblings. Both my parents were dead. I remembered this aunt only from one blurred childhood visit. The idea that I'd made any promise to anybody in this house felt absurd. That afternoon, I called the police again from a clear spot up the hill where my phone caught a bar or two. This time I didn't mention voices. I told them I'd found a body under the basement. They came back with more people. Tape. Cameras. They crawled into the tunnel and pulled my aunt's remains out. They called the coroner. They photographed the cages, the blood, the sheared lock. Questioning went on until dusk. They asked about relatives. About my parents. About who else had keys. I told them everything I knew, which wasn't much. One of the detectives found the journal. He read in silence, jaw tight. There's talk in town, he said finally, eyes on a page I couldn't see. People gone missing over the last few decades. Drifters. A hitchhiker. A guy no one really knew who worked at the gas station. Everyone assumed they just left. That or the woods took them. He looked up at me. We might have our woods, he said. That night, they posted a cruiser outside and told me to lock the doors and get some sleep. Crime scene techs would come in the morning. They offered me a motel, but I said no. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to see this thing through. Around midnight, the scratching started again. Not at the basement door this time. At my bedroom door. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. I sat up in bed, heart slamming, gun in my hand. Who is it? My voice cracked. Silence. Then a man's voice, muffled through the wood. You took too long, he said. Calm. Familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. They got restless. Every muscle in my body locked. Who are you? I whispered. He laughed once. No humor. Open the door, he said. You promised. I kept the gun trained on the door as I slid out of bed. I didn't promise anyone anything, I said. My aunt locked you in there and you killed her. He sighed, like I was a child missing an obvious point. She let me out, he said. You locked me in. Back then. You remember the game, don't you? You and I, in the dark, with the lambs. My head spun. Images flickered at the edges of my vision, flashes of dirt, the smell of metal, a hand ruffling my hair, a voice telling me I was helping. I gritted my teeth. The police are outside, I said. You're not walking out of here. He chuckled. They've been outside, he said. Guarding an empty drive. Watching trees. The door they needed was down, not up. Something slammed against the bedroom door then. Once. Hard. The wood cracked near the handle. I fired through it. The blast deafened me in the small room. Plaster dust fell from the ceiling. The smell of powder stung my eyes. The door blew inward a splintered inch. Silence. Then his voice, closer, amused. Still a bad aim, he said. I backed toward the window, gun shaking. I fired again, this time at the lock. The door burst open fully, banging against the wall. No1 stood there. The hallway was empty. But the light in the basement stairwell was on. The cruiser's engine outside started. I ran to the front window. The driveway was empty. No car. No officer. Just tire tracks leading back toward the main road. No siren. No radio. They'd left. or been called away. Behind me, the basement door creaked open on its own. Light spilled up the stairs. Yellow. Warm. Come on, his voice called from below. We don't have all night. The flock's waiting. My hands shook so badly I could barely keep my grip on the gun. I thought about running into the woods. About sprinting down the road barefoot to the neighbors, a mile away in the dark. Then another memory slid in. A hand, larger than mine, guiding my fingers around a knife handle. A voice saying, cut along the lines. We don't waste. We honor. A child's laugh. Mine. I staggered. No, I whispered. No, that's not real. Come and see, he said. I went. The basement looked different. The cages that had been empty now held shapes. 4 of them, hunched and breathing, bound at wrists and ankles. 2 men, 1 woman, 1 teenager. Mud on their clothes. Fear in their eyes. Their mouths were gagged. Picked up a few strays, he said, emerging from the shadows. He was older than me. Late 50s, maybe. Hair gone thin. Face a roadmap of scars and old burns. Shirtless, chest crosshatched with knife marks and bite scars. Bare feet in the dirt. I knew him. Not from any adult part of my life. From the kind of memory that lives under everything, only surfacing in smells and panic. My uncle. Not by blood. By arrangement. The man my parents had left me with in summers when they wanted to travel. The one my aunt had rescued me from before she cut ties with everybody. You remember now, he said softly. You're making the same face you did when you saw your first lamb bled out. You were sad. But you watched. My throat closed. You killed them, I said. He spread his hands. We killed them, he corrected. Back then. Every time you came. You held the light. You held the bucket. You told them it would be quick because that's what I told you to say. I shook my head until the room blurred. I was a kid, I said. I didn't know. You knew enough, he said. You knew not to tell your mother. You knew which neighbors to pick, loners, the ones who wandered. You picked well. The people in the cages struggled, muffled cries sharpening. I pointed the gun at him. Let them go, I said. Now. He smiled faintly. You're shaking, he said. Same as last time. You shot me, remember? He turned slightly, pointing at a puckered scar on his shoulder. Didn't stick, he said. She patched me up. Locked me in. Thought it was done. Aunt. Cross at her throat. Her body in the tunnel. You killed her, I repeated, because it was easier than thinking about last time. He shrugged one shoulder. She broke the circle. She wanted to pretend it never happened. Said you were just a child. That she'd made a mistake letting you help. That we'd stopped. He shook his head, almost sorrowful. Blood remembers, he said. Even if you don't. The gun felt heavier by the second. My arm ached. You've been killing people out here for decades, I said. And you think I'm just going to pick up where we left off? He looked genuinely confused. Why else would you come back? He asked. The question landed like a punch. Why had I said yes so fast to a house from a woman I barely knew? Why had I gone straight for the basement key when the lawyer told me not to? Why had the smell of cold earth and iron felt weirdly familiar instead of purely horrifying? The journal entry flickered in my mind, she'll come back. Our girl. I told him no. He said she promised. He said she'd be the shepherd. No, I whispered. No. I didn't promise you anything. I didn't choose this. He nodded toward the cages. But you can choose now, he said. Shoot me. Call the law. Let them dig. They'll find more than you want them to. Bones with old cuts. Scars on your own hands you don't remember getting. I looked down. There, on the side of my thumb, was a thin white line. I'd always thought it was from a kitchen knife. 8 years old, my mother yelling as she bandaged it. Except the memory shifted now. The knife had been bigger. The kitchen darker. The thing I'd been cutting hadn't been food. If you take me away, he said softly, they'll see it. They'll ask questions. They'll dig into why you weren't traumatized the right way back then. They'll find the missing summers. The neighbors who vanished. The way you always knew which path in the woods didn't come back out. I thought of the officers outside earlier, talking about the woods taking people. I thought of the journal, the consent my family had given without writing it down. You can walk away, he said. Right now. Untie them yourself. Tell them you found them. Say you came just in time. You'll be a hero. They'll never know how late you actually are. The cages rattled as the captives thrashed, eyes on me, not him. They weren't pleading with him. They were pleading with me. My hands shook harder. Or, he said, voice barely above a whisper now, you can admit what you are. What we made you. Finish what we started and stop pretending you're something else. The room seemed to tilt. I thought I was just a stranger cleaning out a dead woman's house. He thought I was coming home to work. And somewhere under the shock and horror, my body remembered the mechanics of cutting a long bone, of tying proper knots, of keeping someone alive long enough to do what needed to be done. I pulled the trigger. The shot caught him in the chest this time, not the shoulder. He fell, expression more surprised than pained. The second shot was reflex. The third was rage. By the time the cylinder clicked empty, he was just meat on the dirt. I dropped the gun. My ears rang. My hands shook. Then I went to the cages. The locks were new. Heavy. I couldn't break them with bare hands. I went upstairs, grabbed tools, came back. I cut metal until my palms bled. I dragged people out one by one, untied them, pulled gags from their mouths. They sobbed. They clung to me. They asked where they were, how long they'd been here, who I was. I told them my name. I told them it was over. I didn't tell them my own history. Outside, I set off the emergency SOS on the satellite communicator I'd recharged from the cabin's old generator. Eventually, someone came. Sirens in the distance. Uniforms. Tape. Flashing lights turning the trees blue and red. They photographed everything. They took statements. They called me brave. Without you, they'd all be dead, one officer said, clapping my shoulder. In the weeks that followed, the news called it a miracle. Serial killer's lair uncovered. Mysterious basement cages. Niece of monster saves his latest victims. They showed my aunt's house on TV. The road into the hills. The basement door. They did not show the journal pages with my name in them. They did not show the old photos of me as a kid on that same porch, standing next to the man I'd killed, both of us smiling at something the camera couldn't see. The detectives asked about my childhood. I stuck to what I truly remembered. Grandparents. School. The one fuzzy visit to this aunt. The rest, I shrugged off as, never really spent time out here. They nodded. They wanted a clean story. Monster, victims, rescuer. I found the cabin because my phone died. It was supposed to be a solo weekend trip. 3 days in the mountains, no cell service, no Wi-Fi, just me and the woods and the kind of silence you can't buy in the city. I'd packed for it, extra batteries, paper maps, a satellite communicator that promised SOS anywhere. The first day went fine: hiking, camp setup, fire. The second day, I pushed too far from my base camp, chasing a ridge line for photos. By the time I turned back, the sky had turned ugly. Rain started at dusk. Not a drizzle, a full deluge that turned the trail into a creek. My boots filled with water. My pack grew heavy. The SAT communicator's battery warning blinked red before it died completely. Darkness came fast in the mountains. I had a headlamp, but the beam cut only a few feet ahead, bouncing off wet leaves and roots that looked like hands. The trail markers I'd noted that morning had vanished under mudslides. I was turned around. After an hour of slipping and cursing, I saw a faint light through the trees. Not a campfire. Something steadier. Electric. I stumbled toward it. The cabin appeared like something half-buried. Rough logs, moss-covered roof, a single window glowing orange against the storm. No car. No smoke from a chimney. Just the light and a narrow porch barely holding off the rain. I knocked, water streaming off me. No answer. I called out. Nothing. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. Inside smelled like damp wood and old stone. A single room, stone fireplace, cot with a threadbare blanket, wooden table, 2 chairs. A kerosene lamp burned on the table, wick trimmed low. No electricity lines snaking from the walls. No phone. No sign of recent life. Hello? I shouted over the storm. Silence. I should have left. Every survival manual says don't enter unknown structures. But the rain was turning to sleet. My hands were numb. Hypothermia doesn't negotiate. I shut the door. Bolted it. Stripped my wet layers near the fire and hung them on nails hammered into the mantel. I found dry wood stacked neatly by the hearth, cedar, ready to burn. I lit it, hands shaking. The warmth saved me. I ate a protein bar from my pack. Drank water I'd filtered that morning. My clothes dried slowly. I told myself I'd leave at first light, find the trail, get back to my camp. Sleep came despite everything. The storm outside became white noise. The fire crackled. The cot was surprisingly comfortable. I woke to silence. No rain. No wind. Just the faint pop of embers. My phone still showed no service. 6:47 a.m. I dressed in yesterday's half-dry clothes. Packed up. Thanked whatever hermit owned the place under my breath. Unbolted the door. Outside, the world had changed. No storm damage. No mud. The ground was dry. The trees still. The sky clear blue like nothing had happened. I blinked, disoriented. Had I slept longer than I thought? No trail in sight. Just dense woods rolling downhill toward a valley I didn't recognize. I pulled out the paper map. The compass on my keychain spun lazily. The mountains didn't line up. Panic flickered, then settled. I'd find my way. I always did. Half a mile down, I found the bodies. Not in a clearing. Not staged. Just, there, in a shallow ravine half covered by ferns. 3 of them. Adults. Male and female, hard to tell from the decomposition. Ragged clothes. One with a backpack still strapped on, zipper torn. Another missing an arm at the shoulder, the stump ragged like it had been hacked off with something dull. No blood. No obvious wounds beyond the arm. No weapons nearby. Animals could explain some of it, but not the lack of scatter. Bodies don't stay together like that. I gagged, turned away, dry heaved into the bushes. My headlamp from last night was still clipped to my pack. I fumbled it on, shone it into the ravine. That's when I saw the fourth shape. Smaller. Child-sized. Curled fetal against the female's side. Face turned away. Clothing shredded. My stomach lurched again. I backed up the slope, hands shaking, and ran, blind panic now, no direction, just away. I circled back to the cabin without meaning to. The door stood open. I'd bolted it. Inside, the fire was out. The cot stripped bare. My wet clothes gone from the mantel. The kerosene lamp cold. Someone had been here. I bolted the door again, heart hammering. No phone. No sat communicator. Just the paper map and a knife I wished was bigger. Footsteps circled the cabin. Slow, deliberate. Crunching leaves. Testing the porch. I froze by the window, peering through a crack in the boards. A man stood there. 50s. Beard. Flannel shirt. Jeans tucked into boots. Rifle slung casual over one shoulder. He carried a burlap sack in one hand, stained dark at the bottom. He tried the door handle. I held my breath. He stepped back, looked at the chimney, the roof, the woods. Like he was reading a story in the details. Then he walked away. I waited an hour. 2. The light shifted. No more footsteps. I slipped out, moving opposite the way he'd gone. Uphill this time, toward higher ground, hoping for a view or a trail. The woods thickened. No landmarks. No streams. Just endless green. Night fell fast again. No storm this time. Clear sky, cold air. Stars I couldn't name. I made a lean-to from branches. Ate the last protein bar. Drank stream water I hoped was clean. Tried not to think about the ravine. Sleep wouldn't come. Every snap of twig made me sit up. Every rustle brought the bearded man's face back. At some point, I must have dozed. I woke to the sound of singing. A woman's voice. Faint. Off-key. Coming from downhill. Hush now, sleep my baby. The words warped in the distance. Nursery rhyme turned sour. I packed up silently. Moved away from the voice. Found the cabin again by noon. I don't know how. The trees looked identical. The slope identical. But there it was. Door closed. No light inside. I circled it at a distance. No footprints. No sack. No rifle. I waited. Watched. Hunger gnawed. Thirst too. Night too, the singing came closer. This time male voices. Harmonizing. Church hymn. Slow. From multiple directions. I hid in the trees, knife out. Watched shadows move past the cabin. 3 figures. Bearded man. Woman with long gray hair. Another man, younger. They entered. Light flickered inside. The door stayed shut. Voices murmured. Low. Rhythmic. I crept closer. Pressed against the back wall. Listened at a knothole. For days now, the bearded man said. He's strong. Stronger than the others, the woman agreed. The cleansing works. The girl lasted 3, the younger man said. Split bad. Too much meat. My stomach turned. We'll need more salt, the bearded man said. And the pots from the spring shed. We're low on propane too, the woman said. Next run? Tomorrow. Past the valley road at dusk. The hymn started again. Slower. Voices blending. I backed away, silent as I could. Found my lean-to. Lay shaking until dawn. Day 3, I tried the cabin again. Door still locked. No one inside that I broke a window. Climbed in. The room had changed. Cot gone. Table bare. Shelves along one wall, filled with glass jars. Clear liquid. Floating shapes inside. Hands. Ears. Fingers. My knees buckled. I vomited on the floor. In the corner, my pack. My wet clothes, neatly folded. My dead-sat communicator on the table, plugged into a small solar charger. They'd been here. A note beside it, written in pencil on cabin wall scraped paper. You saw. You 8 hours. Cleanse or join. Underneath, a crude map. X marking the ravine. Arrow pointing deeper into the woods. I grabbed everything. Ran. Found the ravine again. No bodies. Just disturbed earth. Recently turned. They'd moved them. I ran until my lungs burned. Found a stream. Drank. Kept moving. Night 4, the singing started early. Closer. Him louder. Footsteps crunching deliberate behind me. I ran blind. Tripped. Fell. Sprained ankle. Kept crawling. Day 5, thirst took over. Found a trickle of water. Drank mud. Night 5, they found me. Bearded man first. Rifle down. You ran well, he said. Woman behind him. Strong stock, she said. Good for the rights. Younger man dragged me back. No rush. No anger. Back at the cabin. Fire roaring. Pots simmering on a propane stove. Jars lined up. They stripped me. Tied me to the cot frame. Washed me with stream water and lye soap. Cleanse, the woman said. The bearded man sharpened a knife. Join or feed, he said. I begged. Promised silence. Swore I'd leave the mountains forever. They sang as they worked. Him steady. Knife cold. The last thing I saw was the jars on the shelves, new additions floating pale inside. The last thing I heard was the woman saying, he'll make 4 good jars. The rain came down like it was trying to erase the highway. I'd been driving for 6 hours straight, windshield wipers slapping uselessly, headlights barely cutting through the sheets of water. My fuel gauge had been flirting with E for the last 20 miles, the little orange light blinking like a warning I kept ignoring. Last stop before home, I muttered to myself. Stupid. Tired. Overconfident. The exit sign appeared out of the dark like a ghost, gas 1 mile. No name. No town. Just fuel. I took it without thinking. The ramp spilled onto a county road that looked like it hadn't seen repaving since the 70s. Potholes filled with standing water. No other taillights ahead. No oncoming beams. Just my Honda Civic hydroplaning through the deluge, engine coughing like it knew what was coming. The station appeared suddenly, bottom of a shallow dip. Single canopy over 3 pumps. Small cinderblock shop with a flickering open 24HR sign. No other cars. No movement. I pulled under the middle pump, killed the engine. The sudden silence made the rain sound like static on a dead radio channel. My dashboard clock read 2:37 a.m. The pumps were dark. No digital displays. No green, ready lights. I tried the handle anyway, dead. I cursed, grabbed my jacket, and jogged to the shop door. The little bell above it jangled weakly, like it was half dead too. Empty. No clerk behind the counter. No cigarette smoke hanging in the fluorescent air. Just a half-empty coffee pot still warm on the burner, a crumpled pack of Marlboros next to an ashtray with 3 butts ground out fresh. Anyone here? My voice sounded too loud, bouncing off the energy drink cooler. Nothing. I leaned over the counter. Empty stool. Cash drawer closed. Back room door ajar 6 inches, spilling dim yellow light. A handwritten note taped crookedly to the register. Back in 5, Tom. No clock to tell me when 5 started. I banged the counter bell 3 times, hard. The ding echoed. The back room door swung wider on its own. A cold draft rolled out. Tom? I called, stepping around the counter before I could talk myself out of it. Stupid, but the coffee was warm. He'd been here minutes ago. The back room smelled wrong. Not just stale, chemical underneath, like bleach fighting something organic. A metal desk sat against one wall, piled with receipts and lottery tickets. A folding chair tipped sideways. On the floor near a trash can, an old flip phone, screen cracked, lying in a dark smear. Blood. Not a lot. Arterial spray makes movies. This was different, smeared handprint leading from the desk to a steel back door with a push-bar handle. The bottom seal had peeled away, letting rain puddle inside. I picked up the phone by the corner. The lock screen glowed, 2:37 a.m. exactly. Background photo showed a bearded guy in his 40s grinning with a trout, Tom stitched on his shirt pocket. He'd dropped it. Recently. The back door rattled softly, wind pressure. I grabbed a tire iron from a shelf marked road emergency and approached. Pushed the bar. Outside stretched a narrow service alley behind the station. Overflowing dumpster. Chain link fence rattling in the wind. No cars. No movement. 10 feet from the door, partially hidden by the dumpster, a shape. I swung the light. Tom. Face down in gravel. Blue work shirt soaked black across the back and left shoulder blade. Right arm twisted completely wrong at the elbow, compound fracture white against the dark. Blood pooled thick under his head, already thinning in the rain. One high-top sneaker missing. Bare foot pale and pruned. I stumbled back, bile rising. No pulse needed checking. The stillness was absolute. Someone had stabbed him. Multiple times. Recently. The gravel around the body hadn't washed clean yet. My eyes swept the alley. Footprints, large boots, led around the dumpster toward the tree line 20 yards away. Fresh. Leading into darkness. I grabbed the logbook, phone, tire iron. Climbed the desk. Smashed the window with the tire iron. Glass rained. Cold wind roared in. There you are. I dove headfirst through the jagged frame. Glass shredded my jacket. I hit gravel rolling, came up running. The alley stretched dark both ways. Left toward the tree line. Right toward the front lot. Dumpster. Tom's body. Still there. I sprinted right. Around the corner. My Civic sat alone under the canopy, driver's door unlocked like an idiot promise. Stop. I yanked the door. Keys in ignition. Engine turned over on the first crank. Reverse. Tires screamed. Forward. Fishtailed onto wet pavement. Rear windshield spiderwebbed. Slugs punched through headrests. I floored it. County road blurred past. No headlights in mirror. Yet. Highway 5 miles. Keep breathing. Don't crash. Phone lit up. 1 bar. Unknown caller. I answered on speaker. Help. I'm being shot at. Rural station off 71. Breathing. Heavy. Wet. Then, you're next on the list. Click. My blood went solid. Black SUV materialized from a side road ahead. No lights. Blocked both lanes. I swerved. Ditched into gravel shoulder. Spun 180. SUV braked hard. Reversed toward me. Driver's side mirror exploded. I gunned it back onto pavement. 20 yards gained. 30. SUV 8 distance. High beams now. Brights blinding mirror. Phone again. Same unknown number. Answered. What do you want? Pull over, the voice said. Calm. Local accent. Save us the chase. Engine sputtered. Fuel starvation. I'd filled maybe a quarter tank before running. Coasted 200 yards. Died completely. SUV stopped 100 yards back. Lights off. Doors opened. 2 figures. Rain jackets. One carried rifle. Other shotgun. Walking distance. No hurry. I grabbed tire iron. Bolt cutters from trunk. Ran for trees. He's on foot. Shotgun yelled. Boom. Buckshot shredded branches 5 yards left. Zigzag. Down embankment. Hit creek bottom. Knee-deep water. Ice cold. No light. No sound but my ragged breathing. Flashlight off. Moved by feel. Branches clawed. Thorns ripped. Heard them at the creek bank. Flashlight sweeping. He doubled back toward the quarry road. Rifle said. Nah, he's paralleling the creek. Shotgun argued. They split. Smart. I climbed opposite bank. Ankle turned. Kept crawling. Found logging road. Followed it blind. Prayed it led out. Dawn graying sky. Found clearing. Old campfire ring. Beer cans. Human crap. Tracks everywhere. ATV tires. Boot prints. Dozens. Not 2 men. A group. In the fire pit, charred bone fragments. Too big for rabbit. Too uniform. Human. Nearby, plastic tarp folded neat. Dark stains. Hair stuck in folds. My stomach emptied. Kept moving. Found dirt track. Fresh ATV ruts. ATV parked. Empty. Keys in ignition. Took it. Rumbled down track. Hope surged. Track ended at clearing. Their camp. 6 tents. 4 ATVs. Truck with camper shell. People everywhere. Men. Women. Kids. Casual. Cooking breakfast. Laughing. Shotgun man sat cleaning rifle by fire. Rifleman poured coffee. The couple with dog from the logbook. Their Labrador sniffed air. The woman with crying kid. Her toddler played with sticks. All of them. The blue pickup guy. Red muscle car guy. Everyone Tom logged. Alive. Not victims, hunters. I killed the ATV. Dove behind stack of firewood. Who's that? Chaos. Everyone grabbing weapons. Kids pulled into tents. I sprinted for trees. Boom. Buckshot shredded bark. Get him. They fanned out. Coordinated. Walkie-talkies crackling. No panic. Routine. I understood now. Tom logged arrivals for them. Marked solos. Vulnerable types. They'd killed him because he let me pump gas. Broke protocol. Buckshot shredded branches 5 yards left. Zigzag. Down embankment. Hit creek bottom. Knee-deep water. Ice cold. No light. No sound but my ragged breathing. Flashlight off. Moved by feel. Branches clawed. Thorns ripped. Heard them at the creek bank. Flashlight sweeping. He doubled back toward the quarry road. Rifle said. Nah, he's paralleling the creek. Shotgun argued. They split. Smart. I climbed opposite bank. Ankle turned. Kept crawling. Found logging road. Followed it blind. Prayed it let out. Dawn graying sky. Found clearing. Old campfire ring. Beer cans. Human crap. Tracks everywhere. ATV tires. Boot prints. Dozens. Not 2 men. A group. In the fire pit, charred bone fragments. Too big for rabbit. Too uniform. Human. Nearby, plastic tarp folded neat. Dark stains. Hair stuck in folds. My stomach emptied. Kept moving. Found dirt track. Fresh ATV ruts. ATV parked. Empty. Keys in ignition. Took it. Rumbled down track. Hope surged. Track ended at clearing. Their camp. 6 tents. 4 ATVs. Truck with camper shell. People everywhere. Men. Women. Kids. Casual. Cooking breakfast. Laughing. Shotgun man sat cleaning rifle by fire. Rifleman poured coffee. The couple with dog from the logbook. Their Labrador sniffed air. The woman with crying kid. Her toddler played with sticks. All of them. The blue pickup guy. Red muscle car guy. Everyone Tom logged. Alive. Not victims, hunters. I killed the ATV. Dove behind stack of firewood. Who's that? Chaos. Everyone grabbing weapons. Kids pulled into tents. I sprinted for trees. Boom. Buckshot shredded bark. Get him. They fanned out. Coordinated. Walkie-talkies crackling. No panic. Routine. I understood now. Tom logged arrivals for them. Marked solos. Vulnerable types. They'd killed him because he let me pump gas. Broke protocol. It started with the scream. Not the animal kind you hear in movies, high-pitched, panicked, human. A woman's voice, cut off sharp, like someone clapped a hand over her mouth mid-breath. It came from the ravine about 30 yards downhill from my campsite, muffled by the thick pine but unmistakable. I'd been hiking alone for 2 days, chasing a ridge trail I'd found on an old topo map. The plan was simple: day hikes from base camp, backcountry solitude, no cell service, no people. Perfect. Until that scream. I grabbed my knife and headlamp. My hands shook, not from fear yet, just adrenaline. You hear stories about mountain lions, bears, but this was human. Someone hurt. Someone needing help. The ravine was steep, choked with ferns and fallen branches. Rain from earlier made everything slick. I slid more than walked, cursing under my breath, beam bouncing off wet leaves. 10 yards down, my light caught fabric. A red jacket. Half buried in mud. Sleeves twisted at wrong angles. The scream came again, weaker, further away. I scrambled toward it. The body came into view. Female. Mid-20s. Backpack still on, torn at the straps. She lay face down, arms pinned under her, legs splayed. A deep gash across her throat glistened wet black in the headlamp. Blood pooled thick around her head, soaking into dirt. Her eyes were open, staring nowhere. I gagged, dropped to my knees, fumbled for a pulse I knew I wouldn't find. Footsteps snapped twigs uphill. Not careful steps. Heavy, deliberate. Branches cracking under boots. I killed the headlamp. Dropped flat beside the body, mud soaking my jacket. My heart slammed so hard I swore they'd hear it. The steps circled closer. Stopped 20 feet away. A man's voice, calm, conversational. "You're late." Another voice, rougher. "Storm slowed us." She fought hard. "Doesn't matter." First voice again. "Get her pack." Checked for ID. Rustling. Zippers. A grunt of effort. "She's clean," rough voice said. "Just trail mix and tampons." "Burn it," first voice said. "No traces." Silence. Then the click of a lighter. Fabric hissed as it caught. I pressed my face into mud, breath shallow through my nose. The smell of blood and wet earth choked me. Boots crunched closer. Stopped right above the ravine edge. "You smell that?" Rough voice asked. "Blood," first voice said. "She nicked an artery when she fell." "Good for us." Laughter. Low, shared. "Number 12? Rough voice asked. 15, first voice corrected. "This makes 16. A pause. Zippers again. "Leave the head," first voice said. "Bears'll take care of it." They walked away. Voices faded into trees. I waited 30 minutes. 40. Until my legs cramped and the fire uphill died to embers. The woman's body lay exactly as I'd found it. Throat gaping. Eyes dull. Her pack burned 20 yards away, straps melted into plastic sludge. I stumbled back to camp on autopilot. Hands shaking too hard to hold the knife. Brain blank except for one thought: get to the trailhead. Call police. Testify. My Jeep was 12 miles away. Downhill, mostly. I could make it by dawn if I moved fast. I broke camp in 5 minutes. Shouldered my pack. Started down. Hour 1, the chase. Half a mile from camp, I heard them. Not voices. Footsteps. Parallel to my trail, pacing me through thick brush. I froze. Listened. Crack. Pause. Crack. Same rhythm. Same weight. They knew my route. I cut downhill, off trail. Thorns ripped my legs. Branches clawed my face. Better lost than caught. The footsteps adjusted. Angled to intercept. I sprinted. Lungs burning. Pack slamming my back. Headlamp beam wild. Trees blurring. A clearing ahead. Stream. Rocks. I vaulted them. Hit mud. Slid. Footsteps louder. Closer. I dove into the stream. Cold water shocked my system. Crawled under overhang, behind a fallen log. Headlamp off. Breath held. They stopped at the bank. Split here, first voice said. You take the ridge, I'll parallel the creek. He won't double back, rough voice said. Too smart. Or too scared. Laughter again. Branches snapped as they split. I waited until my fingers pruned. Climbed out. Shivering. Moved upstream, opposite their assumption. Hour 3, the trap. The second body came at mile 6. Male. 40s. Business casual gone to heck, khaki shredded, button-down soaked red. Backpack missing. Wedding ring glinting on a mangled hand. Gash across his stomach. Intestines partially spilled. Steam rising in cold air. Recent. Minutes. I retched bile into the ferns. Backed away. Footsteps uphill. Fast. I ran. Trail narrowed. Cliffs on my left. Drop on my right. Headlamp caught a glint ahead. Metal. A bear trap. Chain staked. Jaws sprung open. I veered hard right. Feet slid on wet rock. Tumbled down embankment. Hit bottom hard. Air knocked out. Ribs screaming. Rough voice shouted from above. Got him. First voice answered, further away. Keep him pinned. I'm circling. I crawled. Ankle throbbing. Vision spotting. Found a root cave. Narrow. Squeezed in backward. Packed mud around me. Headlamp off. Knife out. Prayed they wouldn't see the disturbed earth. Boots crunched above. Flashlight beams swept. Voices argued tactics. He's hurt, rough voice said. Won't go far. Unless he's faking, first voice replied. Like the lawyer. Lawyer. Business casual. Stomach wound. They'd been hunting longer than tonight. Beams swept inches from my face. Voices 20 feet away. Silence stretched. Minutes. My lungs burned. They moved on. I waited another hour. Climbed out. Ankle swollen. Ribs stabbed with every breath. 5 miles left. Couldn't run. Could barely walk. Hour 6, the switch. Dawn broke gray. Light filtered through canopy. Trail visible again. 2 miles to go. Jeep in sight. A shot cracked. Tree beside me exploded splinters. I dove left, rolling into brush. Another shot. Dirt kicked up. First voice shouted, stop running. I zigzagged downhill. Legs screaming. Vision tunneling. Last half mile. Jeep visible through trees. Final shot. Something burned across my shoulder. Hot. Wet. I hit the parking lot running. Fumbled keys. Door open. Inside. Locked. Engine roared. Tires spun gravel. Shots pinged off the rear bumper. I fishtailed onto the highway. 50. 60. Mirror empty. Hospital. Police. Statement. Bandages. They took my description. Searched the area. Found the bodies. The traps. The campsite. Brave, they said. Lucky. The interrogation. 48 hours later, detectives came to my hospital room. You recognize these? One asked, sliding photos across the tray table. Mugshots. Bearded man. Gray-haired accomplice. My hunters. Found them 2 miles from your Jeep, he said. Dead. I blinked. What? Single gunshot each, .38 caliber. Matches your Smith & Wesson. My stomach dropped. We also found your prints, he continued. On the lawyer's pack. On the girl's water bottle. Inside the bear trap housing. I stared. I was running for my life. And the bodies, he interrupted. All killed same caliber. Same pattern. Stomach first, slow bleed. 13 confirmed. Probably more. My mouth went dry. Witnesses, he said. Locals saw your Jeep circling the area 3 weeks ago. Truckers saw you at a trailhead gas station asking about quiet spots. Memory flickered. A different trip. Researching trails. Normal. We found your notebook, he said. Burned campsite. Lists of routes. Victim profiles. No, I whispered. That's not. They showed me the notebook. My handwriting. Precise. Clinical. Female, 25, solo hiker. Red jacket. Easy mark. Male, 42, business trip. Minivan. Kids at home. My handwriting. My notes. My kills. The truth. They didn't believe my story about stumbling into killers. Because it wasn't a story. It was theirs. I'd been the hunter. Always. The bearded man and gray-haired woman weren't chasing me. They were chasing me because I'd gone rogue. Started keeping kills for myself. Broken the partnership. The ravine bodies were mine. The lawyer. The girl. My work. They'd been trying to stop me. The scream was them finding my latest kill. The footsteps were them hunting the hunter. When I escaped to the Jeep, they let me go. Wanted me to lead them to my stash. Instead, I shot them both. Classic double tap. Clean. Now I'm in a cell waiting for trial. 13 counts. Maybe 20. Nightly, I hear tapping. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. From the next cell. My new partner says he recognizes my work. Wants in. Says we should partner up. Says I promised.